Hi, my name is Erin. Indiana's crime rate, including violent crime, has been steadily dropping roughly over the last 15 years to its lowest point in 40 years. So I'm wondering how you can justify your contract with one of the largest for-profit prisons in the country, GEO Group, who gave your personal campaign $12,000 in 2012. Despite falling crime rates, you promised GEO Group a 90% occupancy rate in their prisons. We have 11% of Indiana kids who have a parent behind bars. 20% of Black Hoosier children have a parent incarcerated in this state, primarily for low-level offenses. And I'm wondering how you can defend that and what we can do to reduce the number of people behind bars in Indiana. Thank you.
Well, first, the state contractor that operates some of our prisons, I'm happy to share with you any information about those contracts if you're curious about. But the larger issue is such a profoundly important question. It's one we spend a lot of time thinking about. And we've done a significant amount about it. In this last session, we just passed significant criminal justice reform in the state. First, really, in a generation, where we adjusted the criminal code with a special emphasis on community corrections. The idea being that we really do believe that one of the ways that we can begin to break the cycle of recidivism in the state of Indiana is by greater utilization of community corrections. So the person actually does their time in the community, then the people around them that can be a positive influence for them, family, other people that can mentor. In fact, that have a greater chance that they have that impact. And so I'd be happy to share all the details of that criminal justice reform that we signed. That was a number of years in the making, and I'm proud of it. The second thing is Indiana broke new ground nationally. We opened last year the first-time offenders facility in the United States. It's in central Indiana. And for individuals who choose to do their time there, if you basically get sentenced to 3 to 5 years, you can choose to do your time in the first-time offenders facility. Now, in the first-time offenders facility, you either have to be involved in a character-based program, which has a curriculum, or a faith-based program. It's all voluntary. Mentors, most of whom, frankly, are previous offenders, live with you in the dormitory, with the inmates, 24/7. And they are completely segregated from general population. And this is an idea I came across years before I was elected governor. Frankly, I thought that other states around the country were doing it. I set our Department of Corrections on a path to set up a first-time offenders facility. And frankly, the day we cut the ribbon on it and launched it, they told me this first of its kind in the country. But it's common sense to me that what we don't want is a young person who makes a poor choice, ends up being sentenced to prison. We don't want prison to become the place where they go and learn how to, be a worse criminal. We want it to be a place where they can learn to seize a second chance in their life. My line is very simple. I think Indiana ought to be the worst place in America to commit a serious crime. But the best place in America to get a second chance once you've done your time. And all of what we've been advancing, whether it be in House Bill 1006, criminal justice reform, our first-time offenders facility, my Branchville Correctional Facility right now has about 90% of our inmates are in alternative incarceration programs. They have worker training, they can be in a character or faith-based program, and the recidivism rate at Branchville right now is 1/3 the recidivism rate in the rest of our prison population. It's really extraordinary. I mean, I honestly believe that one of the most effective ways that we can reduce the number of Hoosiers that end up behind bars is coming to terms as a state with the fact that you'll have 5,000 people released into our capital city in the next 12 months. I think the statistic is within 5 years, 30%, 35% of them will be back in prison. Now that's not taking anything away from people's personal responsibility and bad choices that they're making. They need to be held to account under the law, period. But it does suggest that if we can impact that in a positive way, where people can, they make a bad choice, they end up serving time, but then they get a second chance to be gainfully employed, come back and be an honest, law-abiding citizen contributing to the community, that's, number one, going to be better for their future and better for the future of the state in the long run. And so criminal justice reform, innovation in terms of incarceration, focusing on breaking the cycle of recidivism is a real priority for our administration. We're continually looking for ways we can address that and communicate that. But when I was in the Congress, I helped support what came to be known as the Second Chance Act that was co-authored by the late Julia Carson, an African-American congresswoman from Indianapolis who had a legendary career. And we worked very closely in a bipartisan way on that legislation. I can tell you as your governor that we're going to continue to work in that way. Again, I want Indiana to be the worst place in America to commit a serious crime. Bad people driving across the country, I'd like them to drive around Indiana, just so they don't run the risk of being caught. But worst place to commit a serious crime, but best place to get a second chance once you've done your time. And we're putting real feet on that in a variety of policies and practices. So thanks.
My name is Carmen, and my question is, given recent court rulings in the current gerrymandered state here in Indiana, will you be supporting independent redistricting when the lines come due to be drawn again for both legislative and congressional races? And this follow-up question to that is, given that there is a Republican supermajority in the House of Representatives now, and a quorum exists in that caucus, why don't the open law rules apply?
Well, let me say, I think both of those issues really belong to the General Assembly, which is constitutionally a separate entity from the governor's office. What I would tell you is, with regard to redistricting, there's been talk over the years about changing the way redistricting is done, but or the setting of districts, both congressional and state districts. But I would defer to members of the General Assembly.
Would you personally support it? Is the question.
Again, I think in my line of work, it's a good idea to be about what I'm about. I won't be advocating for that on our administration's agenda, but I would leave that to members of the General Assembly. And if they put it on my desk, I'll make a decision if they put it there.
Hello, Governor. I had a question. Earlier you had mentioned that you were a strong supporter about technical, working early college credits in high school, crossroads, transitional programs, and so on. So my question would be, if our focus is that, and there was a question earlier regarding financing for public education out of the surplus, how do we justify as a state shuffling money from public schools, which do offer a lot of those, to charter schools, which are private, which don't show a record necessarily of being successful? So my question would be, if we can't guarantee a surplus, why are we shuffling money into areas that don't seem to support your earlier statement?
We have the largest single increase in K-12 education in Indiana history in this last budget. One of the great advantages of Indiana's fiscal strength is that we can invest a historic amount in our traditional K-12 schools and bring new innovation to those schools, new flexibility, get more dollars into the classroom, pay good teachers more, and still promote the kind of innovation in public charter schools. We were able to raise the foundation under our public charter schools. We increased funding for our public charter schools, $500 per pupil, to help them pay for facilities, because charter schools actually get considerably less. They don't get the property taxes that traditional public schools receive, so they get considerably less. we increased that so that more communities could consider a public charter school. And with regard to our voucher program, which I think is what you're referring to, I really am very proud of the fact that we created a program that allows parents who would otherwise not have a choice to go to a private school if they determine that that's in the best interest of their children, to give them the financial wherewithal to do that. I'm very proud of the fact, we talked about the Indiana Constitution a little earlier. Indiana guaranteed free public education to the people of the state in our Constitution in 1816. And my focus is just making sure that every Hoosier, whatever choice of education that they want, to an increasing degree, has the ability to choose what's best for them and for their children. And, for me, my kids went to public high schools, they went to private grade school. Because Karen and I had the ability to pay for the private grade school, and they went to the public high school and had a great experience. And they all went to public universities. My son's a Purdue grad, and now he's in the Marine Corps. We had choices because of the wherewithal. What endorses to me the educational voucher program is we're saying many disadvantaged families in Indiana. We got 1 million kids in our schools, 30,000 kids that take advantage of the voucher program. We're saying if you believe your child will be better off in either a public charter school or a private school, we want to give you the chance to do that. But what I would encourage you with is because Indiana is so strong financially, we're able to have significant commitments and increases in education and promote the kind of innovation that's put us really in a position where test scores are up, graduation rates are up. We have the second best improvement in math and reading scores for 4th and 8th graders of any state in the country in the last NAEP test, the National Report Card. So I think we can do all of it. But the focus for me, last thought, I articulated a goal last fall where I said, I want to see, I want to see 100,000 more kids in B or better schools in the state of Indiana by 2020. And I think the way you do that is by supporting your traditional schools in new and renewed ways, and support innovation in public charter schools, and also give families that wouldn't otherwise have a choice. But we grade all of our schools, public and private, and what we want to do is see student achievement and school performance and attainment go up across the board. Time for a couple more questions.